Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Polkadot Deep Dive, a regular Twitter space hosted by Subwallet and Dotinsights, where we invite key leaders in the Polkadot and Kusama ecosystem to come together and discuss in depth a topic that is pertinent to the development and growth of the ecosystem. So, our topic today is, as you can see from the Twitter space name, onboarding builders to Polkadot with Inc. 4.0 and WebAssembly smart contracts. So as many of you may or may not know, Inc. is Parity's Rust-based programming language for writing WebAssembly smart contracts. And the reason we are holding this Twitter space today is because of three reasons. The first one, as Gavin Good have said, WebAssembly smart contract is the future. So we're inviting leaders from the ecosystem here to talk about the WebAssembly future. And the second reason is that Inc. 4.0 has just been released, so there are a lot of interesting updates to share with the community. And last but not least, the WebAssembly bounty had just got approval by the Polkadot Council and the community, so there will be a lot of exciting news to share with everyone listening today. So allow me to introduce our speakers today. I am DJ Hachang, lead researcher at Subwallet, and joining me today is Hernando Castano, core developer at Parity, joining through the Inc. Twitter account. Pete Urinsky, core developer at Aleph Zero. Sota Watanabe, founder of Asta Network. Markin Ivanichuk, founder of Bush Farm, and Brian Nguyen, founder of Art Zero. So thank you everyone for joining us today, and we look forward to talking with you in just a few moments. Okay, so first question. I have just given a very, very brief introduction of Inc. at the beginning, but I believe the audience would appreciate like a more detailed one. So Hernando, could you give us an introduction, a walkthrough of what Inc. is and what Inc. 4.0 is?
Yeah, sure. So I guess first let me give an intro about myself. So as DJ said, I'm a core developer at Parity, mainly specializing on the Inc. programming language. I've been at Parity for a few years now. Started work actually on the Ethereum client before finding my way, into doing this whole smart contract thing. So Inc. is our take on what a smart contracting language should look like. And we decided to base it off Rust because Rust has some really nice kind of safety and performance properties that you need in, this mission critical space that is the blockchain space. As far as Inc. 4.0 goes, really our vision with it wasn't to make a radical change from Inc. 3 in terms of syntax or anything like that. It was more so to make Inc. production ready. So there's a couple key things that we introduced here. So things like end-to-end testing, like native end-to-end testing. So as a developer, and you have confidence in what you're putting out there. We made a couple changes to how storage works, to reduce contract sizes. Whenever you're doing production deployment, you really want to make sure your code is small and efficient. So there were some changes around that. Also some changes around kind of the metadata format to standardize it and make sure that UIs and stuff were able to get all the information they needed, not just UIs, but tooling like exchanges and block explorers, that sort of thing. And then we also have had some improvements with our cargo contract CLI tooling, again, to make development easier, scriptable, all with the vision of having Inc. be production ready.
Perfect. Thank you for the introduction. So let's continue with, I think, a very basic question that every smart contract developers would like to know when they're introduced to the Inc. language. How does Inc. compare to other smart contract languages in terms of ease of use and developer experience? And I'll put this question to Brian and Markin, because you two are developers who has years of experience building smart contracts already. Brian, what is your take on this question?
Hi, thank DJ for introducing myself. So basically, I have a lot of experience in the developing many pieces of software from Web 2.0 until Web 3. So I've been working with many different languages. And to be honest, when we're talking about Rust, I think I would like to compare with one of the most popular smart contract language is Solidity, so that you guys may have some better uh, comparison about between two language. So in Rust, Inc. Using Rust, which is have a better and higher security and safety than Solidity, I think. Uh, for example, one of the overflow protection is supported by default in Rust, but not in Solidity. You know, and because Rust is a lower level, so it faster is faster than Solidity. However, in terms of the easy to use, I think Solidity and other language is easier now because of the syntax is more straightforward. So Solidity is very similar with JavaScript. So if you know JavaScript, you probably will take on Solidity quite easy and quite fast. But Rust is will take a bit more time to learn, and the syntax is more complex. Uh, so yeah, Rust is like some kind like a general language. So Rust you can use for many other purposes. However, in Solidity is a contract oriented language. It's designed for making the contract. Um, I think English is quite new, so there's not much development tools at the moment. Um, so there's a lot of room for improvement in the ink ecosystem for now. But I know that there are some team who are working on that. I believe OpenBrush is working on a lot of tools to helping other developer from using different languages can migrate their work to Rust and Ink at the moment, right?
Yeah, thank you for that.
One
And oh,
one
yeah,
quick
go
thing
ahead.
on the arithmetic like overflow stuff. In newer versions of Solidity, they actually check for that. Um, so yeah, it's not like the olden days. I got called
Oh,
out on that recently.
yeah. Okay. Yeah.
All
Thanks for
right,
that.
so cool. So Markian, I was just about to say that as the team developing tools for developers writing Ink smart contracts, what is your take on the comparison between Ink and other smart contract languages? Markian? Okay, while waiting for Markin to come back, I'd like to ask Hernando, how does Ink integrate with the Polkadot ecosystem? Because you just said that Parity developed Ink based on Rust, and it's very easy to use for developers within the Polkadot ecosystem.
Yeah, so there's a couple different ways that it kind of fits into the model of Polkadot. Um, so one is what we call, so if you're building a parachain, and for those of you that don't know, parachains are these application-specific blockchains that make up the community of blockchains that is Polkadot. So the first way to integrate are using smart contracts as a first-class citizen. So having a smart contracting first parachain, similar to what Ethereum is kind of like today, is smart contract first blockchain. The other is using it as a second-class citizen. So using smart contracts to extend some of the core functionality of your blockchain. Whereas, this is something that maybe users write as plugins, to extend the functionality of whatever core offering you're providing. Another thing you can do is actually maybe prototype and test your application before committing to a full parachain. So for instance, maybe you've got this cool dApp idea. You don't know if you want to commit to, hiring like a big development team to build a parachain, dealing with all the DevOpsy stuff. You can test it out on Ink quite easily. So in that sense, Ink is really like a gateway drug to the Polkadot ecosystem. It's also just a nice place for you to like come and tinker. It's got a low barrier to entry. So yeah, there's a couple different ways that you can use ink in Polkadot.
All right, Markin, are you back with us already?
Yeah, hey,
Just
can
want
you
to,
hear me?
yeah, yeah, I can hear you
Okay,
now. Perfect.
awesome.
So, as a team developing tools for developers to build Ink smart contracts, what is your take on how does Ink integrate with the Polkadot ecosystem, and how does Ink compare to other smart contract languages?
Yeah, sure. First of all, thanks for the invitation. The topic of this call resonates with our goals for Brush Farm greatly, and as we have said, as part of the mission to onboard both developers and businesses to Polkadot, and especially to Ink smart contracts, I think this is very relevant, especially right now with the current market. Uh, yeah, so indeed we have set a goal for ourselves to develop the infrastructure of the ink and Wasm field, and the infrastructure products we are doing, they are targeted to ease the developer's life, to facilitate development, and to decrease the risk and the business cost for the development of an application. Coming to the question of the ink itself, um, I have to say here that in the smart contracts field, I'm more looking at it from the business perspective rather than from a developer perspective. Yes, I have the development experience, but in this field, I'm combining them both. And so, from a business perspective, my feeling for the ink fields is that ink is something that we can use to build really great interfaces for the users, because eventually it's all about the end user, right? Does it make sense to just do something without no end use? And yeah, I feel like ink is a technology, is a capability that will allow us to build great products for the users.
Perfect, thank you. And so, talking about helping developers to build smart contracts, what are the available resources for those looking to learn and use Ink for their projects? So, in other words, how can developers get access to the latest tools, latest news, and latest technologies of Ink? And Pete, can you speak from Aleph Zero perspective?
Sure. Yes. Hi. Well, obviously, there's Ink documentation and tutorials available on use.ink. I think those are great, and especially for developers coming from Solidity, there's a like really extensive, comparison and actually even a full-blown migration guide. So I would probably start there. From the perspective of Aleph Zero, as we use Ink for our smart contracts. Well, we have our docs that provide a pretty gentle introduction to ink development. We are actually just finishing up an updated version for ink 4.0, which actually makes the developer experience really great, in my opinion. Gets rid of most of the fuss and hassle, and like really allows you to focus on the problems you're trying to solve. So yeah, our docs also cover that. And obviously, other great tools like OpenBrush is something you should definitely read if you're serious about ink development. And I think an honorable mention goes to Inkathon, which is a boilerplate for dApps done by one of our ecosystem members. Definitely check that out, because it allows you to bootstrap the whole dApp, not only smart contracts, because there's a lot of guides on that, but the front end, because when talking to our ecosystem projects, basically the question I get the most is, how do I interact with the contract from my front end app? And well, this gives you the answer. It's a simple setup, and it's great.
Yeah, like another use ink, I would say, is a great starting point. But if you're a developer, you should just go to GitHub. That's also a good place to find stuff. Like, not only the official ink GitHub, so ParityTech/ink, but all the other repos that surround it, from Parity, but also like A Star, Brushfam, like Aleph Zero. There's a lot of code that's being written, a lot of tooling
Yeah,
And if you really want to keep on the bleeding edge, you should, be watching those GitHub repos.
yeah, just want to add on to that at Zero we have the whole GitHub repos open for the public to access. So we have the front end, the smart contract, and the back end is available. So if you are a developer somewhere and you are looking for some sample code, we have some comprehensive example of in smart contract for you to free to access and learn. And if you have any question or any thing that you need to support technically, you can also contact our team. We are happy to support.
Yeah, thank you everyone for the input. So we just have Sota on board with us. So Sota, anything to add from A-Star point of view? Do A-Star provide any kind of resources or tools to help ink developers more easily work on their smart contracts?
Hello everyone, my name is Sota Watanabe, founder of Asta Network. I hope you can hear me. We have several features. So first one is Swanky. Swanky is all-in-one WebAssembly toolings for developers. So basically, this is Truffle for Ethereum. So you can deploy Ethereum WebAssembly based smart contract by using Swanky. And the another one is Ink Bounty. I initiated Ink Bounty a month ago, and we have been working with Fernando, Makian, and so on right now to fund the Canary dApps project. The problem right now is there are few Canary dApps on the top of Polkadot, right? In terms of EVM smart contract, we have a lot. Let's say Uniswap, Compound, MakerDAO, app, and people fork, copy and paste on another blockchain, and that's why we do have a bunch of the EVM contract right now on the top of Asta or Moonbeam. But we need to enrich our WebAssembly ecosystem, and probably making Canary dApps on the top of Parachain is very helpful to boost our WebAssembly ecosystem. This is what we are working on right now.
Yeah, talking about the ink and WebAssembly bounty, can you elaborate a little bit more on what is the process of team applying to get the bounty to build their smart contracts?
Yeah, this is actually what we are discussing right now. In terms of the Canary dApps bounty, we are going to publish GitHub, and people can see our GitHub and which area are available, and then they can make a pull request, and we are going to review. This is just like a Web3 Foundation grant. In addition to that, we have a incubator. Incubator is like incubation program for Ink project, and this is what Hernando is working on right now. And Parity. So he can talk more. And Makian, feel free to cut in.
Yeah, so let me maybe give the grand vision of what this whole thing. So everything really does fall under what's called the incubator, but it has multiple tracks, including this Canary or grant program that Sota's been talking about. So the three main tracks are one, the builders program. So this is kind of that startup incubator sort of thing, where we will take one or two teams, kind of bring them up from zero, teach them about ink development, help them get their kind of like their product architecture, their vision, get all that together and work very close with them over the course of a couple months, with the goal that at the end of it all, they will have a production ready application, and they could potentially go raise money and really grow this into a business. The other thing which Sota talked on was grants, and part of that encompasses Canary dApp. So it's funding just like the Web3 Foundation grants, where teams would come with project idea, be it big or small, and we would review that and say like, yes, we will give you a little bit of funding to get started, go make some progress, and then we'll take it from there. Another big part of this is actually getting auditors and auditing teams on boards. people aren't comfortable deploying things to production unless they know that they can be, protected. So trying to work with auditors, bring them into the ecosystem, teach them about Inc., and get them working with the teams that have gone through the builder track and the grants track, to make sure that those, the builder teams don't need to necessarily pay for audits out of pocket, given how early they are. And then the auditors also don't have to go and kind of, scour for funding, right? We will provide that funding. And we're trying to get everybody bootstrapped in the ecosystem together.
And I guess there is the tooling track too.
Yeah, so I guess I don't remember who was talking about it just now, but full stack tooling is quite important. At Parity, anyways, we've just been focusing on, writing the core Rust stuff, but clearly having front end libraries and JavaScript tooling is a big part of the story. So we're also doing some development work around that with there's a thing called Use Inc. that Sam from Parity is kind of spearheading, but we do want to open up to the community. But again, if you want to come and build some tooling, we're happy to fund that as well.
Perfect, thank you. Anything to add about the WebAssembly bounty from Markian and Pete?
Yeah, sorry. What was the question?
Oh, I was asking if you want to add anything, any information about the bounty.
I think guys summarized it very well. Yeah, we have a few important tracks, which are grants, auditing track, and I think right now we are working to establish a clear and open process for everybody to participate. We believe these programs will help us to grow the community. As right now, it's rather safe to say that the community is quite early, and we would like to grow it. I think we have established that we would like to finish everything till the end of this month, and as soon as we'll be ready, it will be announced on all the possible channels.
Yeah, so from my side, I don't really have anything to add. I don't want to steal the show and announce our stuff, so let's just say be on the lookout for Aleph Zero ecosystem programs. Should be announced quite soon. And that's all from me.
Yeah, so there will be a lot of new and exciting information coming in the next few weeks, so everyone be on the lookout for that. And are there any plans to help the developers after they have completed the core code? Any plans, any strategies to help them approach funding after that, or help them with the marketing, the business side? Sota.
Oh, I'm sorry. I lost your comment.
Yeah, so my question is that are there any other strategies rather than the bounty? Like, is there any plan or to help developers with the business and the onboarding users, etc., anything other than the code?
Yeah, there are a lot of the things we have to do in terms of WebAssembly in Polkadot ecosystem, because this is pretty new when it comes to Polkadot ecosystem. So first one we would like to work on is actually it was sort of a secret, but we are going to work on wallet and going to make a toolings like Alchemy by ourselves and by working together with ecosystem project. So yeah, I think strong infrastructure and strong toolings are really necessary to boost WebAssembly. So yeah, this is part of the strategy. And the another one is we have a dApps staking, which allow developers to earn in token by making toolings. So we incentivize WebAssembly developers to deploy smart contract on Asta so that they can earn token while making a smart contract, WebAssembly smart contract. Yeah, and the Asta Foundation has a bounty program as well. So we intend to fund WebAssembly projects instead of EVM project in coming months.
Cool, thank you. And are there any plans to support businesses and enterprises looking to integrate Ink smart contracts into their existing infrastructure?
Yeah, when it comes to enterprises, we have been working with top Japanese company right now, like Toyota, Sony, and so on. So we are having Toyota Hackathon right now. And the deadline of the submission is actually March 19th. So probably we are going to fund Asta token to the Ink project as a reward. And when it comes to Sony incubation program, this is 3 months program for builders. So we choose 20 project out of more than 200 applications. So from the next time, I think we are going to choose more WebAssembly projects rather than EVM.
Yeah, from our side, I would like to also add that we are right now preparing a hackathon that will be focused especially on the business side. We're planning to gather teams that already have from 2 to 7 months of traction and empower them business wise. Marketing, financial side, especially with this market, it's extremely important. I feel to understand finance and manage your finance well, and understand how to work with investors, and how to use the type of support that community and ecosystem can provide, because there are different ways right now, right? But not everybody is aware of all that ways, and uh, that's why we are doing this hackathon with the goal to help those team growth in terms of business and help them get deployed faster. And this is one track, and the other track that just recently thought about is working with the Ukrainian enterprise. It will be today hackathon, so there will be no working product, but this way we hope to onboard and show to the business that their real business cases can be resolved using blockchain technology and specifically Polkadot technology, and to show to the developers what problems are and what problems can be resolved, and later on, like if there is a real problem resolved and the business sees value, then this problem, the product will definitely get funding, right? Because it it brings value.
Yeah, speaking of that, can you give some examples of the potential business use cases that Ink can support that other smart contract languages like can't, or like more it's more difficult for them to support?
Yeah, I think the cases where we have heavy computations, because Ink is quite good with heavy computations, where we have lots required to have lots of transactions on Ethereum. As you know, transaction is quite costly, and on our in our Polkadot, I believe the transaction will be definitely lower in cost. So it could be like a database that would require to store a lot of records and use high frequent updates and so on. Supply
Yeah,
chains,
and
like for the logistic companies, for the military cases as well. We now have U.S. Army using blockchain for its purposes. We now have FT, FedEx using blockchain for the logistics and so on.
If I may add, I would say that any use case that requires stronger security guarantees or safety guarantees, I think the Ink, well, Rust type system and Ink by extension, lends itself to writing, more secure code, and it gives you fewer ways of shooting yourself in the foot. So, in any financial context, I think that can be invaluable. Because I think the code is easier to audit actually, and easier to write secure applications. With less potentials for hacks and locked funds and stuff like that.
yeah, and Ryan, can you speak from
Yeah,
your
I think
experience?
I have the same agreement with with Peter about this. DeFi is really a big things, and really Ink 4.0 and Ink and Rust, using Rust that can make it more secure. Uh, and more application, more risky application that a lot of people may uh, you know uh, consider when they launch on another chain because of security. But when moving to Ink, it may be safer for them to deploy the contract in the system. So yeah, DeFi is a big thing. And I also think a lot of uh, DeFi using NFT that will be growing in the future as well. That can be used Ink, and Ink can implement a lot of um, new NFT standard in the future, and that can be uh, part of the ecosystem, and part of the make a way to a completely new generation of application in the ecosystem.
Yeah, absolutely. And for everyone's information, Subwallet has already supported PSP22 and PSP34, the token standard of WebAssembly smart contract. So feel free to explore and experience building your D apps and integrating Subwallet, and for ease of use. So I got a question from one of our audience. It's that how important is Rust in learning Ink? Or in other words, how deep do you need to go into Rust before being able to use Ink? Because he has not had a lot of experience in learning Rust. Hernando, can you take this question?
Yeah, sure. So one of our goals with Ink was to make it as close to Rust as possible. Well, that means that if you do want to write Ink, you need to know how to use Rust. The learning curve isn't going to be quite as steep as if you're developing a palette on Substrate, for example. Like, we don't go really overboard with some of these, using and abusing some of the features of Rust. So I would say definitely get through the Rust book first. Maybe go through Exorcism and a couple of other exercises. Because, yeah, you need to be familiar with Rust.
I think that Star, you're raising your hand. Do you want to add something?
Yeah, there. Sorry,
Hello, everyone.
this is
I'm
Jared
Andrew Camp from
Just,
TubeBuddy, and in
I
this
think
video,
if we're talking about Rust and Ink, we have someone in the audience, Pierre. If you could bring him up to talk, he's our Rust dev, so I think you could provide good insight on this.
Yeah, I think it's Pierre, right? I have just invited Pierre to speak. And yep, if you could accept, then it would be great to answer this question.
Hey everybody.
Yeah, go ahead.
I think Hernando replied well to the question, but I want to add that yes, Ink use really idiomatic Rust. So if you know Rust, it will be really easy to know Ink. But even if you don't know Rust, I think that the Rust level that's needed to write Ink smart contract is
While we wait on Pierre, I have just a small announcement to make for the benefit of the ecosystem. We have been talking about mentioning OpenBrush a few times on this talk, and I just want to let everyone know that we have proposed for public discussion a proposal for the next milestones of OpenBrush, and we would highly appreciate everyone's involvement and support and comments. We are quite open to do some changes to the roadmap if that would be reasonable.
Hello, can you hear me, guys?
Yeah, I can hear you. Go ahead.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yes.
thanks. Yeah, to add to what Hernando said, yes, Ink use a really idiomatic Rust, but still the Rust that Ink uses, it's a pretty entry level Rust if you want to write smart contracts in a way that Ink abstract things, and the level of complexity lies in ink abstraction. But you, as a smart contract developer, I think you, even if you, I know a lot of people that actually learn ink, learn Rust by developing ink smart contract. So it's way more easy than Substrate, for example, where it use a lot of generics. Here in ink smart contract, I think it's a really great opportunity to also start learning Rust. So don't be afraid to start Rust with ink. I think a lot of people has done so.
So do you have like an estimate amount of time, like how many months would the developer have to go before he can actually start building? Yeah, Pete.
So yeah, I think well, working with our ecosystem projects, I don't think we ever had a case where Rust was a barrier, actually. So all of the use cases that are building on LF0 basically can grasp ink development in, well, let's say 2 weeks, and even more so when we are, participating in hackathons and running hackathons. There are teams who come to the hackathons, like fresh out of, let's say, Solidity, and are able to, in 2 days, build a working, functioning product using ink, with just doing a simple onboarding. And yeah, it's actually really easy. And part of that is thanks to tools like OpenBrush. I want to do a PSP22 token, so ERC20 basically, for those not familiar with Polkadot ecosystem. So I just go to the OpenBrush website, and there's like like an interactive tool that lets me basically compose my token from basic building blocks. I want a PSP22 token. I want it to be, say, mintable with access control. Click, click. There, I have the code, right? And I'll probably be able to understand what it does just by general programming knowledge. Of course, it's knowing Rust helps, especially if there's an error, a compiler error, or you need to debug something. But to me, for a good developer, Rust as used by ink, I'm not talking about lifetimes and borrow checker and so on, but ink as used Rust as used by ink is super straightforward.
Perfect. So I think our friend audience has his answer. So the next question I would probably be curious about is developer journey, right? So you onboard like a fresh person coming in wanting to build ink smart contract. What are your recommended developer journey that the person takes?
Okay, if no one's talking, I can, because that's what I do pretty much on a daily basis. So I would say what we want to do when supporting the use cases is supporting them across the board, because actually typing out the ink code is only like 20% of building a successful Web3 product, right? So first we are making sure that they know the landscape they are building in, and that the business case is good, and that the product market fit is good. And only then we proceed to the technical considerations, like we supply them with resources to learn ink, and point them to different frameworks and libraries like OpenBrush and Inkathon to really bootstrap the development. Then I think what sometimes needs to be helped with are the code reviews, because if you're onboarding, you can write the code pretty fast and pretty easily, but you may not be aware of some of the nuances. I think ink is really on the good side when it comes to not having a huge amount of nuances, so it's pretty explicit to my taste. But still, I mean, it's good to have someone, with a lot of experience take a look at your code and point out potential risks or caveats. Yeah, and then the journey goes on, and actually, I think it moves to stuff like marketing, building the brand, and so on. So, not really programming considerations anymore, but more on the business side.
To add to it, yes, in Asta we have a suite of tutorial. So from really basic to writing a Uniswap version 2 in Ink. So we usually share it with a new developer in hackathon to start by it. Of course, first is also setting your developer environment. It could take some time if you are really new to it. And after that, it's basically just battling against the compilation error of Rust compiler. And for this, there is a Discord. I think there is Discord of Aleph Zero. There is a Discord of Brushfam, and there is a Discord of Astar. I think we are all developer are here to help people, and usually people come here. There's also Stack Exchange. Of course, there will be a lot of questions to ask if you want to do something a bit more advanced. So yeah, that's how we onboard devs.
Cool. Anything to add, Martin and Sota?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Sure,
Yeah,
sure.
sorry, seems that I have a problem with my Twitter today. Okay. Yeah, you can also visit OpenBrush documentation and type chain and Sota documentation. They're quite extensive, and if you take OpenBrush, it is OpenBrush was always designed as an entry product for the developer that just starts using, so, and the documentation is done in this style. So I would definitely recommend the developers that are just starting using to start firstly, of course, with using, and then as OpenBrush is a base library that everybody uses, then of course go to the OpenBrush docs and familiarize with what's written there.
Yeah, so we talked a lot about documentations, Aleph Zero documentation, A-Stars tutorials, and OpenBrush documentations. Do you think it would be helpful to have like a one-stop shop for all of the documentation so that there's like a one aggregated place where developers can just jump in there and kickstart their ink journey?
Yeah, actually, I quite strongly feel that there is no need to duplicate this documentation between the parachains because ink is one. We have only one ink, and it works the same on every parachain. And I personally would think it would make a lot of sense to have one place about ink and where every developer could familiarize with ink, and then every parachain could do just some only specific stuff that is relevant to their parachain and not waste time on having the same tutorials and same documentations.
You got to remember, we do have use.ink.
Yeah, I know.
And PRs are welcome.
Yeah, it's a great place. I love it.
There also used to be like a community-made awesome ink GitHub repo, which aggregated a lot of ink resources, but I'm not sure it's up to date. I just don't know.
Yeah, so I think that still lives under the parity tech handle, and yeah, I don't think we've updated in a little while. But yeah, we should definitely revive that. Because yeah, it's like there's definitely been a lot of growth in the community since that was started.
Okay, well, what I think is that maybe some dashboards would be helpful, something like Dotinsights, but a page that is relevant only to that is just about the ink, and that's actually what we've been slightly discussed with the Dotinsights team. I think that would be great, and this dashboard could gather all available resources, and then developer could just pick what's best for him or her.
Yeah, definitely. At Dotinsights, we are always open to suggestions, and I think the Market's idea of a dedicated page on Dotinsights for ink and WebAssembly smart contracts would be a great idea, where we aggregate all of the sources. So like you go there, you only need to go there, and you have links to Asta, links to Aleph Zero, links to Use Ink, links to all of the sources you need, and there will be as Pete said, a developer journey where we take you through all of the steps you need and in order to help you bootstrap and kickstart your Ink smart contract journey. Perfect. So I think that's all the questions I have today. Anyone in the audience, do you have any questions for the speakers? Feel free to request to speak, and then I will invite you to speak and ask your questions. All right, if no one has any other questions, my last question and concluding question for the Twitter space is, where do I follow in order to get the latest news on the WebAssembly bounty?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was going to say, I think if you made it out to this space, you'll probably hear about the bounty. I want to say that almost every single team participating here is involved in some way, shape, or form. So if you're following any of them on Twitter, like, you'll hear about it.
Yeah, we are going to decide Ink bounty and when to publish, where to publish. So yeah, keep your eye on Ink Twitter, Makian's Twitter, and my Twitter. And also in coming months, I think we have to make cutting edge WebAssembly tunings, and we have to prove that WebAssembly, the value of the WebAssembly in a Polkadot ecosystem. So I'm really bullish, and let me know if I can be of any help.
Yeah, perfect. So best advice, follow everyone here and their project to make sure that you don't miss any single updates or news of WebAssembly bounties so that you can get a chance to get help and kickstart your Ink smart contract journey. So again, thank you for everyone. Thank you for all the speakers who joined to join the Twitter space today.
Thank you. It was a great talk. It was a great talk. I enjoyed it. Thanks a lot.